Welcome back. I am your host, Adedamola Flourish Balami, and I am glad that you are here today again. Today we are looking into the topic overcoming comparison and expectations. Comparison is the thief of joy, and expectation is the thief of rest. Today we will look at comparison in terms of comparison with siblings, with other pastors' children, with church members' children, the pressure to represent well, and how Jesus walked away from the crowds. Comparison steals joy, and like we said, expectation will also steal your rest. So how do we get your joy and your rest back? Should it have been stolen? It is exhausting, extremely tiring to constantly measure yourself against your siblings. We can understand the effect of birth order and childhood experiences and all that. But beyond that, probably because you're a pastor's child and how one sibling is doing and the other has to meet up and measure up. Or compare yourself against other pastors' children, measure yourself against other pastors' children, or against other church members' children and expectations. Remember, a church is like a world in itself. There are different classes of people, there are different caliber of people, there are different status, different situations, different families. So how do you even start comparing yourself in such a system? And you were never meant to be measured. You were meant to be met. Jesus disappointed people often. If you read through the book of Matthew, when they come to him and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and they're expecting him to respond in a certain way, they usually, most of the time, got disappointed. He left crowds. Jesus said no. As a matter of fact, he rested. He slept, even in the middle of a storm. So you are also allowed to disappoint people in order to be obedient to God and to actually find your bearing in this life. Here's the story of Emmanuel. Emmanuel said how he wrote a story about how he learned to breathe again. It's quite lengthy, and I'll try to read and be fast. For a long time, I didn't recognize how much expectations were affecting my mental health. Okay. I thought I was just being responsible, but over time, the constant pressure to meet external standards led to chronic anxiety, emotional fatigue, and a sense of never being enough. I thought I was just being responsible, but over time, the constant pressure to meet all these standards made me live in a quiet state of alertness, always monitoring, always adjusting, always trying. What helped me begin to heal was learning to set boundaries. I started limiting what I explained, what I carried, and what I allowed to define me. I gave myself permission to rest, permission to say no, to step back without feeling guilty. From this moment, I realized that God never asked me to live in exhaustion. God never expected me to live in exhaustion. And the Bible says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. The heaviness I was carrying was not all mine to carry. So I began to release what was not assigned to me. And in that space, my nervous system began to settle. My thoughts became clearer. My heart felt lighter. That's when I understood the boundaries that are necessary and that boundaries are not rejection. I realized that boundaries are a way for me to be aligned. In fact, they are alignment. And once I am aligned, I will find peace and I will grow. Having listened to the story of Emmanuel, here are some practical takeaways. Practice this sentence for yourself if the story resonated with you. I am still discovering what is right for me. I don't owe anyone a finished version of myself. I am still discovering what is right for me. I don't owe anyone a finished version of myself. And truly, you don't owe anyone a finished version of yourself. If you have to, unfollow anything that triggers you, any site, any group, wherever you are getting triggers. Stay out of that space so that you can discover yourself and function fully in your God-given capacity. After doing this, you should pray for the peace of God to abide with you. We have pretty much come to the end of another episode of Omopastor, and I am Flourish, reminding you that you are not late, you are not lacking, you are learning. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.